administrator, anything?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on. For Waterford, Knox River Commission, Fred's not here. County Board of Health, anything?
Yes, on September 7th, there was a public release about bats being tested positive for rabies and to remind us to keep our pets vaccinated.
Okay.
Okay, Sewage District, anything? Under report? Okay, Library Board, anything?
Just review a budget as we did earlier in finance.
Okay, WBMD, Drainage District. Okay, moving on, new business. Discussion on resolution 1021-101424, amending 2024 budget. Maintain fund challenges for audit reconciliation across 23 and 24. Okay, Zeke, this is a cleanup item for audit, is
Yes,
this?
sir. So this just came through the finance committee with a recommendation for approval, just so we can keep things consistent between audit years. We did include in the 24 budget and interfacilities fund, so it's a separate fund. We use fund accounting or enterprise fund accounting, with our books. Just so that as we're looking back on years, everything's apples to apples, like management or fiscal management.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second, more discussion? We hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution's passed. Discussion on recommendation of the Personnel Committee to amend Personnel Manual. Zeke or Tammy, you wanna help us out with this real quick?
Yeah, we met to discuss a PTO donation. We did have somebody that worked for us that had a preemie baby that required weeks at Children's. And it was something that most municipalities and companies are doing now, is offering other associates to be able to donate PTO. So it did go through personnel and pass. I don't know if you want to go into the specifics of the hours.
Yes, ma'am. So, there's actually a separate ask I'm gonna make of the board tonight as a part of this, overall program. So if you look on page 21 on your packet, I wrote a policy that's intended to be a universal policy going forward. With how that policy is written, and now that the individual that Tammy just mentioned is back at work, this policy would preclude him from being able to receive anything. So as a part of your motion, I'm gonna ask you, to create an exception to the policy with regard to that one individual. He went a couple of weeks without a paycheck and would like to potentially get a paycheck. So page 21 lays out a sick leave policy. Again, I'd ask for that one exception as part of the motion for approval. Page 22, we had some question on WRS, administration of WRS, and how do we handle various employees. So page 22 addresses that. And then we had one more question to come up after the Personnel Committee meeting. I've inserted that as an edit in your packet on page 24. The Personnel Committee did not review this one, Tammy, but I think it needs to happen, which is a strike through, in particular with the fire department. Stipend-based volunteers are ineligible for leave or other fringe benefits. That was a blanket statement that was written at a time that we had some other things going on. So we have different categories that employees will fall into potentially for different benefits. So for example, if we have a municipal employee working for, let's say, City of Racine, and they are a WRS receiving employee for the City of Racine, if they come out here and work for us, by virtue of the fact that we are already a WRS contributing employer, we have to enroll them in WRS. It's not an option. So that would be one employee classification. Another employee classification may be, hi, I don't work anywhere else. I'm not expected to work 1,200 hours in a year. I don't necessarily qualify by letter of for WRS, but as part of recruitment and retention, we would want to have that individual involved in WRS. So I would like to have that particular sentence struck out. This came from Michelle via question on how we
What
would
kind
handle
of monetary?
that. All of it's already in your budget. It's already budgeted to have all this stuff like that.
And, all right,
I will say that,
We're trying to make your policy manual reconcile to your budget, not the other way around.
I understand that. I'm just,
Yep.
for me, looking at a volunteer as someone that's not eligible for those type of benefits and wages, or so striking it through just seems out of the normal. I think it almost should go back to personnel. But I'll leave it up to you guys.
I'll make a comment on on the other, making the exception. This one individual is a very valued, great member of our EMS department, been with us a long time. So I think it's the right thing to make this exception, to be able to go back on the leave. That's my comment on that. Any other questions regarding Andy said? What do we wanna do here?
Well, whoever's on the personnel committee, I'd be up to them if they,
Is that your motion?
You wanna make
to
that
send it
motion?
out?
I'll make that my motion.
Is it a motion to approve
To
everything else?
approve the first two with the exception, and then sending the third back to the personnel.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion a second. Is everybody clear what we're talking about here? Okay,
If I can
things good,
interject.
Mitch?
So Michelle is bound to follow the manual, which will mean if that motion goes forward, that every one of your volunteers, I think 11 of them, that are budgeted to receive WRS, and we've told them they're gonna receive WRS, are now gonna get disenrolled from WRS.
To me, this seems to be a housekeeping item, and I would assume that,
Well, I'm confused how.
I mean,
that-
Adam, you're on personnel
Well,
with me.
so that's what I wanted to bring up. I was not at that meeting, nor was another personnel member, Kathy Nargis.
Correct.
And we had asked to do the meeting another time, and it was not, everybody was moving forward with the quorum that was gonna be made without us there. So two members didn't have any input. Maybe those two members should have a say at what was being kicked back, or maybe it all needs to go back and then be I wasn't there, so hard for me to say, just let's kick it down the road here.
But I'm a little bit more concerned about, what did you just say? Say that
So
again?
through your budget process, you enact various spending authorizations, okay? We then apply that as a policy. Your personnel manual is in conflict with your budget policy. This is intended to reconcile the personnel manual to the budget policies.
So, I'm just confused how, it seems like we got the cart in front of the horse. It seems like we're pushing, like you've told how many people that they're not gonna get enrolled now, or
No,
unenrolled because of this line item?
haven't had that conversation with anybody. Michelle brought this up as a review of payroll and what she's working on and said, hey, I found a conflict here. Okay, what do we wanna do about the conflict?
Right.
The budget document shows that every single stipend paid out is receiving WRS.
I guess for me, I'm gonna stay true to how I've spoken earlier this year when you haven't been here or somebody else hasn't been here, and I've said we should probably hear from all the elected officials. So, we can expedite things. We can have another personnel. We can do what we wanna do here. We're the elected officials.
Yes, you
I
are.
think sometimes that's forgotten in the mix, right? So maybe it needs to get kicked back and have a quick meeting on that with the full committee, or at least bring Kathy Nargis and I up to speed.
Well, that's the motion that's on the table.
That's all I'm saying. You guys will have to chirp in on that.
Well, I'm gonna call for a vote then. Any other comments?
I just think personnel should be involved in something like that. That's just like,
Then it goes back to personnel.
Yep,
If you
that's-
wanna have a meeting sooner, your chair personnel, you can have that meeting sooner, and we can get this expedited if need be. That's the motion that's on the table from what I.
When can you schedule a meeting, Rachel?
Next week.
When everybody's gonna be able to be there, I guess.
Yeah, and I responded immediately to that email. I said, I make every meeting. You all know that in this room. So I said, I'm not gonna be there, and go forward or not. And it went forward, and that's fine. Just did not have any input and,
The 11 volunteers at hand in the meanwhile will continue to receive WRS until final decision is made.
That's up to you guys. You authorized it in your budget document, that's how we've implemented it.
Well, that's my point. It seems to be a housekeeping item because it's already authorized in the budget. It just needs to match the personnel manual. And as far as you and Kathy missing the
The-
meeting, that was a PTO donation policy, and there was a quorum that did approve it.
This is a
So-
wording thing that was put in there originally to describe for our health insurer that those volunteer-based stipend receiving employees were not qualifying for health insurance benefits. Retrospectively reading it, could have worded it a little differently.
just from the point of principle, something like that should go through personnel.
So let's take it back into a meeting. And if you consider amending your motion to allow the, benefit level to continue until such a time decision is
I
made.
will, I will amend my motion for that,
Okay.
for that allowance.
Is it a second?
I'll do a second.
Amended, motion second. Does everybody understand what we're voting on now?
Think so?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes, so we'll get a meeting together
Okay.
with this